Welcome back. You're watching WION World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Jana.
And I'm Hem Kaur Soro, and on the show today, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, while in Kyiv, has pledged unwavering US support for Ukraine. And he did so in a rather unusual style as he picked up a guitar at a basement bar in Kyiv with a message for Ukraine that the United States and much of the world was fighting not just for Ukraine but for the free world. In fact, he performed Rockin' in the Free World. We will get you the details of this on the show today.
Also on World DNA, a new explosive report has exposed how Dubai's real estate market is being used to stash illegal funds. The names include high-profile Pakistani names from former President Pervez Musharraf to current President Asif Ali Zardari. Report also mentions Hezbollah and the Houthis of Yemen, groups subjected to US sanctions. We will get you the details of this right here on World DNA. For now, let's get you started with the headlines.
Egypt and Israel lock horns over Rafah border crossing, blame each other for its continued closure as Gaza's humanitarian crisis worsens.
US top diplomat Antony Blinken picks up a red guitar at a Kyiv basement bar with a message for Ukraine that US and much of the world was fighting not just for Ukraine but for the free world.
US wants Georgia not to become the West's adversary by falling back in line with Moscow after its parliament defies mass street protest to pass foreign agents bill.
Six-month-long investigation reveals astounding volume of leaked property data, including over 23,000 properties listed as belonging to Pakistani nationals in Dubai as nation reels with economic uncertainty.
Dramatic scenes caught on video in France. 2 prison officers killed in an ambush on prison van near Normandy's Rhone. Massive manhunt underway.
A key inflation reading rises more than expected in April, leading to yet another round of speculation around rate cuts. Fed Chair Jerome Powell says the central bank must be patient and wait for evidence that inflation continues to cool.
World number 16 Tommy Paul ends Daniel Medvedev's title defense in Rome. The American dispatches the second seed in the round of 16 to claim his first top 20 win on clay. Now, in the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas, a lot has happened in the past 24 hours on the diplomatic front. Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim met the leaders of Hamas during his visit to Qatar.
Now, the Malaysian Prime Minister, who is on a 3-day state visit, met with Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh and its former chairman Khalid Mashal. The meet comes as Anwar Ibrahim has been a vocal advocate of the Palestinian cause. According to one of the mediators, Qatar, truce talks are at a stalemate and that Israel is setting unrealistic goals and showing no roadmap towards an end to this war.
With the war showing no signs of stopping, the Biden administration has notified Congress it is moving forward with more than $1 billion in new weapons deals for Israel.
The latest weapon package for Israel comes in less than a week after the White House paused shipment of bombs to Israel. New reports are emerging that Israeli Prime Minister, who is widely expected to introduce an outline for ultra-Orthodox military enlistment bill to the cabinet, the legislation has now been removed from the agenda at the last moment due to a pushback. This comes as under the bill, ultra-Orthodox men who were earlier exempted from serving in the army should be drafted now. The bill would also trigger economic sanctions on yeshivas if positions are left unfilled.
On the other hand, in a bid to provide much-needed humanitarian aid to Palestinians, Israel and Egypt officials have started a war of words. Egypt accuses Israel of denying responsibility for the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Cairo says these are desperate attempts by Israel to shift blame, while Israel says Egypt was not allowing aid into Gaza.
On the other hand, US says first shipments of aid through the US maritime route should be open in the coming days.
The U.S. government and other international donors are providing aid commodities for delivery from Cyprus to the beach in Gaza by way of U.S. and partner nation military and civilian vessels and a temporary floating pier. The World Food Program will take receipt of that aid once ashore in Gaza and coordinate its onward movement and distribution to people in need.
While on the battlefield, IDF says the army is operating in northern, central and southern parts of the enclave. Further adding, the forces have eliminated about 100 militants in their operations in Rafah, as intense fighting is renewed in Gaza's north as well. Hamas has released a video showing the militant group fighting the IDF in Jabalia.
The group is also defending its ground in the south, where they are fighting the Israeli tanks. Meanwhile, in Israel's northern border, reports say at least 2 people have been killed by an Israeli airstrike targeting a car in southern Lebanon, with one of them being Hezbollah's field commander. All right, for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report from New York. Listen to this.
The Biden administration has decided to proceed with a large weapons package for Israel, despite its earlier opposition to Israel's actions in Rafah. The administration had previously withheld a shipment of 2,000-pound bombs, citing concerns for civilian casualties. However, now experts say this latest decision undermines the administration's attempt to pressure Israel to rethink its conduct in the war. The new package includes weapons that may not be delivered for years, but Israel may interpret it as a sign that the U.S. will restock munitions expended in the war despite disagreements over Rafah. Now, this decision highlights the administration's reluctance to deepen its ties.
Joe Biden has accused China of cheating rather than competing on trade.
This, of course, as Washington unveils steep tariff hikes on Chinese imports like electric vehicles as well as semiconductors.
I spent a lot of time with Xi Jinping. Early on, I told him, he said, why am I being unfair with China? Not unfair. I said, look, we'll play by the same rules if you want. If you want to do business in China, you got to have a 51% Chinese owner. You got to provide access to all your intellectual property, etc. You want to do that in America? With silence. Sometimes they just outright steal through cyber espionage and other means. And it's been well documented and internationally recognized. And when you make tactics like these, you're not competing. It's not competition, it's cheating.
China has vowed to take all necessary measures as the United States is planning to raise tariffs on its clean energy goods. And this includes Chinese EVs, batteries and solar products.
Biden announced new tariffs on several Chinese imports, including a dramatic increase on electric vehicles as well.
Tariffs on Chinese EVs will rise to 100%, quadrupling the current 25% rate. Other key tariff hikes include solar cells doubling to 50%, steel and aluminium products tripling to 25%, semiconductors increasing to 50%, various medical supplies, batteries, critical minerals and ship-to-shore cranes also seeing significant increases. These measures will raise tariffs on $18 billion worth of Chinese imports.
It's no secret that the president, this entire administration, has been concerned about unfair practices by the PRC that harm American workers and businesses.
The tariff rate on EVs is set to quadruple to 100% this year, while the one for semiconductors will surge from 25% to 50% next year.
This follows a review of tariffs imposed during a trade war between Washington and Beijing, during which then-President Trump introduced levies on some $300 billion in goods from China. Beijing warns new US tariffs on $18 billion worth of imports from China would severely affect relations between the two countries, pledging to take resolute measures to defend its own rights and interests.
China always opposes unilateral tariff hikes in violation of WTO rules and will take all necessary measures to safeguard its legitimate rights and interests.
Shifting focus to the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the battle for Kharkiv has intensified with the Ukrainian military now pulling back to new positions.
In two areas of the northeastern region where Russia has sharpened its offensive further, Kyiv has also warned of a Russian army build-up to the north near its Sumy region. In Kharkiv, Russia has made inroads into the north, taking a 10th border village, that is Baruvatka. While exchanges of fire have been reported from Volchansk, a town just 5 kilometers from the border, that has been the target of one of the main Russian thrusts. Ukraine's military spy chief says that Moscow has committed all its troops stationed in the border areas for Kharkiv, which is the second largest city of the country.
At least 2 people have been killed in shelling, forcing over 7,500 people, including elderly from Volchansk and other border areas to evacuate. According to Ukraine, Russian forces made 14 assaults on Kharkiv on Tuesday compared with 13 on Monday and 22 the day before. In a series of airstrikes by Russia on residential areas in Kharkiv, at least 20 people were injured on Tuesday.
One of the sites hit was a 20-story building in the city center. Russia used its new guided UMPB-D-30 bombs in the attack. At another site, at least 15 garages near a residential building caught fire after being struck by guided bombs. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky earlier accused Russia of seeking to reduce Kharkiv to rubble. However, top Ukrainian officials also said that Russia currently does not have the troop strength to capture Kharkiv.
Meanwhile, Ukraine's State Border Guard Service released a video from the 10th of May to show fighting near the frontier town of Vovchansk in the Kharkiv region. In the video, soldiers are seen firing from and taking shelter under a dugout in a forest.
Furthermore, Russian President Vladimir Putin signed decrees on Tuesday appointing all members of the government and held a late evening meeting with his new cabinet lineup. Earlier in the day, nominations for deputy prime ministers and ministers were approved in the State Duma, and consultations on the heads of law enforcement agencies and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the Federation Council were held. While Kyiv waits for material support from the United States, Russian forces are taking swathes of territory along Ukraine's northeast border.
But U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's surprise visit does raise hopes for Ukraine for a fast-track weapon transfer. More in our next report. Take a look.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kyiv on Tuesday. The first visit by a senior U.S. official since Congress passed a long-delayed $61 billion aid package for the country. Blinken acknowledged that the delay had made Ukraine more vulnerable to Russian attacks, but he pledged unwavering U.S. support going forward.
We know this is a challenging time, but we also know that in the near term, the assistance is now on the way. Some of it's already arrived, more of it will be arriving, and that's going to make a real difference against the ongoing Russian aggression on the battlefield.
U.S. military aid had been blocked by Republicans in Congress until they finally allowed a vote last month, when it passed with support from both parties.
Big appreciation from Ukrainians to Americans for this.
Zelensky said his country was thankful for the bipartisan support, but added that more help was needed as Russia mounts fresh attacks in eastern Ukraine.
The decision of the package was crucial for us. It's very important to get it as quick as possible. And the second point is air defense, the biggest deficit for us. I think that the biggest problem, yes, and we need today 2 Patriots for Kharkiv region, because the people are under attack, civilians and warriors, everybody there under Russian missiles.
Blinken's visit comes days after Russia launched a ground incursion into the north of Kharkiv, opening a new front and stretching Ukraine's soldiers. During a speech, Blinken took aim at Russian President Vladimir Putin and said the U.S. intends to seize Russian assets.
What Putin destroyed, Russia should and must pay to rebuild. Our Congress has given us the power to seize Russian assets in the United States. We intend to use it.
Russia now controls about 18% of Ukraine and has been gaining ground since the failure of last year's counteroffensive to make serious inroads against Russian troops.
Donald Trump's fixer Michael Cohen faced aggressive questioning from Trump's attorney Todd Blanche, who tried to paint him as a liar seeking revenge rather than justice.
Now, Cohen, who spent more than a decade working as Trump's fixer, answered the prosecutor's questions for about 9 hours on the witness stand on Monday and Tuesday. Our next report gets you all the details.
Donald Trump's one-time personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, was back on the witness stand on Tuesday, and he detailed a 2017 Oval Office meeting where Trump, who was then the newly elected U.S. president, agreed to a plan to secretly reimburse Cohen for a hush money payment the attorney made to a porn star. Cohen is the prosecution's star witness at Trump's criminal trial in New York, where the ex-president is accused of illegally falsifying business records to hide the payment to Stormy Daniels. Prosecutors say Trump wanted to silence her claims about a 2006 sexual encounter as he campaigned for president in 2016.
It's a scam. It's election interference at a level that's never taken place before.
Trump has denied the affair, pleaded not guilty, and called the prosecution a political effort to derail his current presidential campaign. In his first day as a witness on Monday, Cohen laid out in painstaking detail how Trump ordered him to pay Stormy Daniels. That $130,000 payment is at the heart of Trump's historic trial, now in its fifth week. On Tuesday, Cohen testified about a series of invoices and checks, some signed by Trump himself, that Cohen said were falsely recorded for legal services. While Cohen testified, a mid-level appeals court denied Trump's latest effort to throw out a gag order that Trump asserted violated his right to free speech. Justice Juan Merchan's order allows Trump to criticize the judge, District Attorney Alvin Bragg, and complain that the case is a witch hunt. But it prohibits Trump from commenting about potential witnesses, jurors, court staff, or family members of those connected to the case. So a high-level Trump ally did just that instead. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson spoke outside the courthouse on Tuesday, taking aim at Michael Cohen.
This is a man who is clearly on a mission for personal revenge.
He also railed against the judge's daughter.
The judge's own daughter is making millions of dollars doing online fundraising for Democrats?
Trump is facing 3 other criminal cases, but it's unclear if any others will go to trial before the November election. He has pleaded not guilty in all of them.
Now, for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani sends us this report from New York on Cohen's testimony. Listen to this.
Donald Trump's criminal trial has strengthened his hold on the Republican Party. By calling the trial a witch hunt, Trump taps into Republicans and many Americans' sense of grievance. Despite a gag order, Donald Trump's courthouse appearances and surrogates like House Speaker Mike Johnson keep him visible on the campaign trail, reinforcing his leadership status among the Republican Party. So far in key states, the strategy has helped Trump maintain his front-runner status in the primaries. Some argue that the long-term implications depend on the trial's outcome and Trump's ability to pivot to a more inclusive, policy-focused message when he's officially nominated. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
While Pakistan continues to fight its economic woes, the rich nationals in the country own between 17,000 to 22,000 properties worth $12.5 billion in Dubai.
Well, the list includes names of some high-profile Pakistani lawmakers, including the country's former President Pervez Musharraf and current President Asif Ali Zardari. The project, titled Dubai Unlocked, was compiled after an analysis of property data that was collected from the Dubai Land Department and publicly owned utility companies. Journalists from 74 different organizations in 58 countries contributed after a thorough investigation, expanding well into 6 months. The report leaked data about thousands of properties in Dubai and information about their ownership or usage, largely from 2020 and 2022.
In the explosive leaf, Pakistanis rank as the second largest nationality owning real estate properties in Dubai. Their collective holdings are valued at an astounding $11 billion. As per the report, 17,000 Pakistanis own 23,000 properties in Dubai, indicating the large scale of undeclared investment. The report comes at a time when Pakistan is grappling with an economic collapse worsened by political uncertainties.
Of course, these uncertainties have fraught law and order among business investors accused of regularly paying extortion money. Prominent Pakistani names figuring in the list include PPP chairman Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, Pakistan's information minister Sharjeel Memon, MNA Ikhtiar Beg, the son of PMLN President Nawaz Sharif,
Hussain Nawaz, son of retired Pakistani General Qamar Javed Bajwa, as well as several other influential Pakistani political figures. It also includes lawmakers who were sanctioned by the United States in 2016 for their alleged involvement in money laundering. The Dawn, one of the publications that participated in the investigation, claimed multiple members of the Sindh and Balochistan assemblies, names of over a dozen bureaucrats, a diplomat, and Pakistan's police chiefs have also been mentioned in the data.
Of course, there are a lot of frauds continuing there, and those are going to be tackled shortly. We are going to be tracking those developments coming in from Dubai. Moving further from here, India's southern state of Kerala is grappling with its worst outbreak of the hepatitis virus.
Yes, the state has reported 1,977 confirmed cases, and as per government data, in the first 4 months of 2024, the virus has caused at least 12 deaths.
Now, other than the confirmed cases, there are 5,536 suspected cases that have been reported this year, and 15 more deaths are suspected to be caused due to the hepatitis A virus.
The situation is worsening day by day, due to which State Health Minister Veena George has put out an alert in 4 districts, Kozhikode, Malappuram, Thrissur and Ernakulam. The State Health Department data reveals that the number of cases reported till the 13th of May is 2024. That is higher as compared to the numbers that were reported in the years from 2017 to 2023.
The hepatitis A virus, HAV, affects the liver, and it can be transmitted after consuming contaminated water and food, or it can also be caused through direct contact with an infectious person. All right, time now for a short break, but on the other side of World DNA, when we come back, we are going to be bringing you more updates from northern France, where scenes from a highway looked no less than a fictional movie when gunmen wearing balaclavas ambushed a prison van to free a drug dealer known as The Fly. The attack killed 2 prison guards, severely injured 3 others, and has triggered a major police manhunt. We'll get you the full report.
Also on the other side, North Korea's authoritarian leader Kim Jong-un has overseen a tactical missile weapons system. We'll get you all the details of this on the show.
India's Global Voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
A lawyer's critical comments on TV against President Kais Saied throws the country in disarray, triggering a lawyer's protest and clashes with the police against a belligerent North African leader. Nigerians divided over Prince Harry and Meghan's visit as the couple stirs controversy with their dress code and protocols. And Libyan Abdel Fattah al-Saadi shares his food and sleeps with predatory animals who have become his pets in Tripoli. World of Africa, at these times on WION, World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Economic turmoil and global unrest have cast a shadow over President Joe Biden's approval ratings.
The rockets are continuing to be fired by Hamas in Gaza, although at a slower rate than previously.
So, right now, we are with the volunteers from the Aleppo municipality. They are still trying to go to the rescue for the people they can find out.
India has emerged as a major diplomatic force at the world stage.
The rising cost of living in Nigeria continues to impact citizens from all walks of life.
The citizens of Gujarat witnessed a mega roadshow here in the city of Ahmedabad.
China is South Africa's largest trading partner for 134 years straight.
A domestic aircraft carrying 72 people on board crashed in Pokhara city in central Nepal.
165 injured have been moved. 61 people are confirmed dead and rescue operations continue around me.
After receiving an entire season's rainfall in a span of 48 hours, Chennai city has literally been brought to its knees.
For WION, World is One.
Welcome back to World DNA. Thank you so much for staying with us. Lots lined up for you on this side of the show. Let's get started.
Egypt and Israel lock horns over Rafah border crossing, blame each other for its continued closure as Gaza's humanitarian crisis worsens.
US top diplomat Anthony Blinken picks up a red guitar at a Kyiv basement bar with the message for Ukraine that the United States and much of the world was fighting not just for Ukraine but for a free world.
Overhead drone video of Japan's largest warship, Izumo, goes viral on Chinese social media. Tokyo confirms a video shot using UAV and not generated using artificial intelligence.
Dramatic scenes caught on video in France. 2 prison officers killed in an ambush on a prison van near Normandy's Rouen. Massive manhunt underway.
Eleven of 14 vigilance team officials and members still trapped in mine in Rajasthan's Neemgathana district after vertical shaft collapses. Rescue efforts underway for more than 12 hours.
Researchers studying tree rings from past reveal summer of 2023 was Northern Hemisphere's hottest summer in 2000 years.
A key inflation reading rises more than expected in April, leading to yet another round of speculation around rate cuts. Fed Chair Jerome Powell says the central bank must be patient and wait for evidence that inflation continues to cool.
Manchester City are on the cusp of historic 4th Premier League title in a row. The defending champions beat Tottenham Hotspur 2-0 to go 2 points clear of Arsenal ahead of the final day. In northern France, scenes from a highway look no less than a high adrenaline Hollywood action movie when gunmen wearing balaclavas ambushed a prison van to free a drug dealer who's known as The Fly.
Well, the attack killed 2 prison guards, severely injured 3 others. The event has triggered a major police manhunt now. The CCTV footage from the prison morning attack took place at a toll booth. In the video, a black SUV is seen ramming into a van at a toll booth with gunmen aiming automatic weapons at the van, removing the inmate and setting the SUV on fire before fleeing the scene.
The van was transporting Mohammed Amra, a 30-year-old drug dealer from a regional centre in Normandy, back to his prison after being questioned by a judge. The attack prompted a significant law enforcement operation in the northwestern region of France as authorities worked to secure the area and apprehend the assailants.
Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin said a major manhunt had been launched, while Prime Minister Gabriel Attal said everything will be done to find the perpetrators of this despicable crime.
Everything will be done to find the perpetrators of this despicable crime. The Epervier plan has been triggered. We will spare no effort, no means. We will track them down, we will find them, and I tell you, they will pay. We owe it to the victims. We owe it to their families and their loved ones. We owe it to all members of the prison administration We owe it to all French people.
Drug crime has spiraled across Europe, which has been flooded with cocaine in recent years. And the attack comes on the same day that France's Senate released a major report on drug trafficking, warning that the country faces a tipping point from rising narcotics violence that represents a threat to the fundamental interests of the nation.
North Korea's authoritarian leader Kim Jong-un has overseen a tactical missile weapons system which North Korea plans to install in the missile units of its army.
Now, this came just 2 days after Kim supervised test firing of the country's new multiple rocket launch system as well as artillery weapons system that he plans to deploy to the combat units from 2024 to 2026 in an effort to bolster defenses against South Korea.
Just last month, the North Korean leader had personally overseen the simulation of a nuclear counterattack, according to country's state media KCNA. Kim Jong-un expressed satisfaction with the missile system production, emphasizing that it was significant to the 2024 military production plan.
The North Korean leader labelled the production as a breakthrough in the military's readiness for war against its arch-rival Seoul. As per the North Korean state media, Kim Jong-un plans to install the missile launchers at Western fire strike units that are in charge of important fire strike missions. Kim attended the first test firing of such weapons last week.
In recent months, North Korea has accelerated the pace of its weapons testing to expand its military capabilities as South Korea and its staunch ally United States have strengthened ties and have staged multiple large joint military drills to bolster readiness against North Korean nuclear threats. During his visit to the munition factory in January, Kim Jong-un called South Korea as the principal enemy, adding that he no longer has the intention of avoiding a war on the peninsula as he threatened to annihilate the country if provoked.
Since early 2022, as the United States and South Korea expanded their military exercises, deploying aircraft carriers and long-range nuclear-capable bombers in proximity to North Korea has conducted more than 100 rounds of missile tests to modernize its arsenal.
Now, it won't be wrong to say that artificial intelligence is the technology of the future. No country has been untouched by the rising tide of AI across industries. And India, of course, is no exception.
Absolutely. Now, recent data from tech staffing service Team Lease Digital reveals star-lighting facts about India's tryst with AI. The AI adoption rate in India, that stands currently at nearly 48%. AI adoption is expected to grow by an additional 5 to 7% in the ongoing financial year, which began on the 1st of April.
Nearly 75% of companies are actively looking to integrate AI into their business operations in the next 1 year.
However, the adoption rate is not uniform across industries. While the banking, finance and insurance sector has a 68% adoption rate, this figure stands at 60 to 65% for the tech industry. Apart from them, only the pharma and healthcare sector has an adoption rate of over 50%. Manufacturing, infra and transport and media and entertainment sectors have lagged behind in adopting the technology. In fact, the AI adoption rate in media and entertainment industry stands at just 12%.
But AI's march to becoming a $20 billion market by 2028 has one big roadblock, and that is the lack of AI professionalism. And these are AI professionals who are in dearth. Now, the demand-supply gap in AI talent in India stands at 51%. Experts say this significant gap indicates there is an urgent need for skilled AI professionals to help companies integrate AI into their operations.
Now, US producer prices rose by more than projected in April. However, key components that feed into the Federal Reserve's preferred inflation gauge were more muted.
Still, Fed Chair Jerome Powell said the US Central Bank must be patient and wait for evidence that inflation continues to cool. Now, this is when the US household debt hit a record, with more borrowers struggling to keep up. Yet, the US Central Bank is hesitant to commit to rate cuts explicitly.
Now, Fed Chief Powell said that recent inflation figures indicate it will likely take more time than previously thought to attain the confidence that's needed to lower interest rates.
Referring to the lack of inflation progress in the March quarter, Powell said, and I'm going to quote here, "We did not expect this to be a smooth road, but these were higher than I think anybody expected. What that has told us is that we'll need to be patient and let restrictive policy do its work," quote unquote. Then he added, "It looks like it will take longer for US to become confident that inflation is coming down to 2% over time."
Now, it's clear that softer data in recent weeks is doing little to temper the Fed's hawkish view when rates are at 23-year highs. However, a Fed survey shows that overall US household debt rose to $17.7 trillion. That's an increase of $184 billion or 1.1% from the December quarter. The data highlights the mounting financial pressures on American families in an age of elevated inflation. The persistent rise in the price of essentials such as food and rent have strained household budgets. This has also pushed people to borrow against their credit cards to pay for necessities.
Fed researchers said that consumers facing a financial squeeze may be maxing out their credit cards and falling behind on payments. Consumers have added $3.4 trillion in debt since the pandemic, and that increased debt bears much higher interest rates.
What's not helping is the view on inflation, which portrays a rather sorry outlook at this point. This will give Fed policymakers many sleepless nights until inflation maps out to the target. All right, on to developments now from the world of technology. US auto safety regulators have opened an investigation into the performance of Alphabet's Waymo self-driving vehicles. It was reported that Waymo's robo-taxis exhibited driving behavior that potentially violated traffic safety laws.
The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says that its preliminary evaluation into an estimated 444 Waymo vehicles follows reports of 22 incidents. This includes 17 collisions. This is the latest in a series of investigations opened by US authorities into the performance of self-driving vehicles. Drones are now being used to handle deforestation. Of course, take a look at these visuals. It's a seed-dropping drone. The hovering drone drops linden and pine seeds wrapped in soil onto a barren hillside outside Kosovo's capital, Pristina. It's part of an effort to reforest thousands of hectares lost to illegal logging and wildfires. A drone can plant 1 hectare in 2 hours. In other words, the purpose of these drones is to halt Kosovo's deforestation. The technique has already been used in the United States, Brazil, Africa, and Europe to counter rapid deforestation.
According to reports, Chinese officials have instructed domestic tech giants to prioritize locally made AI chips over those from US-based software firm NVIDIA. Major Chinese companies including Alibaba, Baidu, ByteDance and Tencent were told to reduce spending on foreign-made chips like NVIDIA. Now, tech giants in China are expected to buy equal numbers of locally and foreign-made AI chips for their new data centers. However, the directive hasn't been strictly enforced and it's unclear if penalties will be imposed for non-compliant companies. This move is a blow to NVIDIA as China accounted for nearly 19% of their data center chip revenue in fiscal year 2023. NVIDIA has expressed concerns regarding the move, stating that losing the Chinese market would be detrimental as there is no alternative to China's huge demand.
Spending on artificial intelligence in India may triple to $5 billion by 2027. According to an Intel IDC report, entities in India spent around $1,700 million on AI in 2023. As per experts, last year, major spending of $209 million was driven by AI infrastructure and software. Intel India's Santosh Vishwanathan stated that India is ready for AI as around 20% of the world's data is produced in the country and it is the 3rd biggest market globally. Vishwanathan also stated that India leads globally in terms of technical skill availability. All right, time now to get you some updates from sports. Lucknow Super Giants' hopes of making it to the playoffs are all but over. Half centuries from Abhishek Porel and Tristan Stubbs, followed by some quality bowling by Ishant Sharma, saw Delhi Capitals beat Lucknow by 19 runs.
Right. Put into bat first, Delhi Capitals lost Jake